Hi guys, and today's movie that you don't hate. All right, so
Green Lantern. Now, back last year, we actually did Green Lantern. Yeah, this is very nice.
I know it.
Last year, we did Green Lantern as our very first You Don't Hate of all time. Now, this was actually part of the Goods podcast. It was not a standalone show because we were kind of feeling ourselves out. Wait a minute.
Phrasing.
Hence this. No, we were kind of feeling out the show. We didn't know exactly how we wanted to do this. So now, for those of you that now that we have this format, we kind of want to do a redo and do Green Lantern and give it another shot.
Mm-hmm. And this is my love right here for Green Lantern. It's my love.
50 Shades of Green over here.
Exactly. For you people that wondered what I look like under the shirt, this is it. Abs.
Abs. All right.
So we have a show to do.
All right. Anyway, so for those of you that have not seen You Don't Hate, we break down the movies. We break it down in 5 categories. We break it down in the acting, directing, special effects, characters, action sequences. Okay. Sometimes we throw music, but it's not necessarily for this one. So we break it down on both sides. We as far as all of those categories,
right.
Tally up the scores at the end, and then try to prove that you don't really hate this movie.
You don't hate Green Lantern. Come on, this is a great movie.
Oh man.
Okay, great.
2011. This movie was really highly anticipated. A lot of people really wanted to see this, especially after the success of The Dark Knight and the this kind of continuation of this DC universe.
And we're riding the Ryan Reynolds train.
Riding the what?
Phrasing.
You read that. Anyway. So it was really hyped, and you know what? For the most part, it didn't deliver what we wanted. In all honesty, when it came to executing the comic book of the Green Lantern.
Okay.
I think honestly that it got a bad rap only because everybody was expecting something along the lines of The Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
When you're dealing with this kind of content, it's a little bit harder to go and try to be more realistic and all that the way Nolan did, because it's in space, it's a little bit more science fiction. So I thought it was kind of hard for them to execute that in that same way.
No, I mean it's a lot of backstory with Green Lantern, and it's so space cop-ish.
Exactly.
That you can't really do too much to make, like you said, with Nolan and making Batman more realistic. It's hard to make this like super grounded.
Exactly. I mean, even Man of Steel was kind of hard to make that way also.
Yeah.
Superman, the Donner films were a little bit easier, I thought, than the Zack Snyder ones. But anyway, so Terrence, why don't you tell us about the plot of the Green Lantern?
All right, so the plot of this film is that we have our character Hal Jordan being played by Ryan Reynolds. Test pilot, really pure-hearted guy out there. Comes across an alien crash landing on the planet, Abin Sur, who is dying and needs to, when the Lanterns die, they have to pass on their ring to somebody worthy. Obviously, Hal Jordan's worthy. He passes on the ring to him. He gets the powers of the Green Lantern, and obviously, his abs and pectorals. But once he gets that power, he has to learn how to become a Green Lantern. He has to learn how to make constructs. Has to learn how to use his powers so that way he can defend. For the Lanterns, they actually have to patrol, or they're responsible for a sector of space. He's responsible for our galaxy. It's a little bit comic bookish I'm getting into, but they touch on that in the movie as far as what the Green Lantern do and what he's responsible for his area he's taking over that he's going to protect, and how he learns to use the power that he's been given.
From that standpoint, I thought that they executed everything from an origin standpoint.
Yes,
the way that they got everything out, like first showing you what type of character that Hal Jordan is, and then going on into the other side of as far as space and going through all that, and then going every single step I thought that they executed it pretty good as far as the plot.
Right.
I thought it was pretty simple.
The plot was really easy to do. Well, I want to take it back. The plot wasn't really easy to do because I said it was like this was a very comic bookish thing. So the fact that they were able to give you all the big plot points of the origin for Hal Jordan being a Green Lantern, I think was really, really good, and to keep it in a way that it didn't look super hokey. I mean, you believe the Green Lantern on their planet, you know, that looked, you know, as realistic as a planet full of people dressed in green suits could be. And
all these different aliens and
you believed
species and all
who he
that.
was as a character. You believed his origin story, and they covered it for the most part the way the comic books actually deal with it. So
and then you have the subplot of, as far as the threat, which is the Parallax, that is the threat that is that Sinestro and all the other Green Lantern Corps want to go against, and all that. So it's already broken free. It's Adam Sur got away from it. It chases him down. That's part of the reason why he crash lands on Earth and is already dying.
Right.
But you know, that subplot also, I mean, you got to have a threat. You got to have a villain. I did not, and you can look at this up in the first show. I hated it. I hated the villain, but
that's not the plot.
But that's, I know. But I'm saying that, you know, from a subplot,
Okay.
it did okay. It was all right.
Okay.
So we have not put the scoreboard up. So Terrence, put the scoreboard now.
Ding.
And who gets the point?
Plot gets the point.
Plot gets the point.
That's alike. I mean, come on. The plot was really simple. If you're a fan of the comic book, it's a good plot. I mean, it covers what the comic book says. If you're not a fan of the comic book, then, I mean, it's still interesting. I mean, it went through well. You weren't confused. You were riding along with it. Other things kind of have some issues making it come off the rails a little bit, but we'll get to those.
Acting. The actors involved in this were actually pretty good. You do have some Oscar nominees also. You have Angela Bassett, who's nominated for an Oscar. You have
Our first look at Waller.
Yeah. You have Jeffrey Rush, who actually did a voice for one of the Lanterns. He is also an Oscar nominee, and so is, matter of fact, didn't Jeffrey Rush win for Shine? I think he won for Shine, so he's an Oscar winner. And then you got an Oscar nominee in Michael Clark Duncan, who voiced Kilowog, also another one of the Lens Corps.
He didn't run for Green Mile?
No, he was nominated for Green Mile.
Okay, I thought he won.
Well, if he was looking down at me, you won, dude. I don't care what this card says, you won. Anyway, but the late, great Michael Clark Duncan, he was one of the voices there, so Oscar nominee there. But you also have, of course, you got Ryan Reynolds.
Right.
You got Ryan Reynolds playing Hal Jordan. You have Blake Lively as love interest, another Oscar winner with Tim Robbins.
That's how he met his wife.
Yeah, exactly. That's just right. That's how we got the Shallows. But anyway, but like I said, you got Tim Robbins also that comes out in it, and you know, I thought that it was a pretty decent cast. The standout for me was Mark Strong. I thought Mark Strong, who played Sinestro, I mean, even though he was in there brief, but he gave me this Ray Park Darth Maul vibe there as far as the acting. But I thought it was
believing him in the actual makeup and stuff like that. And
yeah, absolutely.
Like he sold you on the character.
Yeah, he looked amazing.
Yeah,
we'll get into characters with that.
Yeah,
later,
but he did a great job. I mean, just his whole attitude when he delivered his lines is how the kind of like almost like the pompous way that they have.
It was very Star Wars.
Yeah, it's like that's how they portray him in the comic books. He's kind of like, you know, and snooty. You know, that's how he comes off in the comic books. I'm sorry, that's how he comes off in the comic books. But he did a great job. Ryan Reynolds. I mean, if you're a Ryan Reynolds fan, and I hate to keep saying I'm a Ryan Reynolds fan, but
I think you're a Ryan Reynolds fan.
Yeah. So I mean, he did a great job. He brought the comedy to Hal Jordan. You know.
Okay, now let's get these pants off and fly some planes.
He's kind of like.
Well, he had a fine. I thought that Ryan Reynolds played this with a fine balance. Even though he makes fun of himself in Deadpool a lot with this role, I thought he actually played a pretty damn good Hal Jordan.
No, I think he was great as Hal Jordan. As a matter of fact, he was probably one of the standouts. I mean, Blake Lively didn't have a super huge part as far as her character, but I mean, I don't think that she did anything that took away from the film.
Well, her with dark hair.
Her with any hair. I mean, as far as the characters, I can't really pull out. I mean, Angela Bassett was in it, and it's like, I mean, she was just a doctor, which was a little kind of a trade on the character itself for Waller. But the she always does a great job. I mean,
Peter Skarsgård was the weak link. It's not even his fault. I don't even think it's his fault.
The way they wrote the character.
Yeah, and I think
we'll
it's
get the characters in a second.
Yeah, the director Martin Campbell, who did a couple Bond films. He did Casino Royale. He did GoldenEye. He did this movie, and I don't think that he directed Peter Skarsgård right. There's just something about the way he played him, and
it's whiny.
Yeah, and Skarsgård is actually a really, really good actor. You can see him in the upcoming Magnificent Seven, but he did Black Mass. He kind of played the same role actually in a little bit. But he's a really good actor. I like him a lot. I just don't think that he delivered on this one, and I don't think it's his fault. I think it was the director's fault. So from a directing standpoint, there were some scenes that just did not make too much sense here and there.
Such as?
And then the another thing that didn't make sense also was the whole training sequence. And I said that in the first one because they were, the training sequence is so short.
I think
it was really short. And then at the end, it's like, I trained him well and this and that. Like, you were barely in it.
I think they did that for sake of time in the film.
Yeah, but
they could have spent more time on the planet.
There were some things that could have taken out, that they could have taken out. The director on how he got the villain out was there were parts that were pretty creepy, but then parts that were kind of stupid. Especially when it comes to Earth, I thought that maybe that they should have just made Sinestro get the fear ring and turn into the real threat and not the Parallax.
Like just get it at the him just end up being the villain for the end. Like we see his transition.
Yeah, the Parallax towards the end. Kind of like the way Donner did Zod for Superman 1, and then they were the main villains in Superman 2.
Okay.
But have Sinestro do the same thing with Parallax, have him be kind of like introduced, and then he's a later threat, but have Sinestro be the main one that is the threat of this one. I thought that would have been a little bit more realistic. I thought
because they wanted to be more like the comic book news, like because Sinestro was a Green Lantern. It was like he didn't like, hey, I'm a Green Lantern. Oh, okay, now I have my own Sinestro Corps. He wasn't that instant. It was like it took time.
Well, I know that they expected this to go on.
Yeah, they expected it. It was like they were setting him up for the sequel to be.
Yeah, but I just don't think. I think,
and that's just them being, having too many hopes and dreams that series was going to go on.
Honestly, it really was not. I don't that bad. I mean,
we've seen, especially in this day and age, we've seen some stuff that come out and that still get sequels, and they do franchise Divergent, and still go on to make Maze Runner 2 or 3 movies, and it's like, and this one couldn't get a sequel. Really, I mean,
give me a mulligan.
Yeah, exactly.
Now the Green Lantern Corps is going to actually make its way back to the theaters potentially in 2020,
with
2021 with Jon Stewart. And not from the Daily Show, so maybe we'll get a mulligan there. But as far as this is concerned, I thought Martin Campbell did an okay job. Ryan Reynolds saved it. We'll get the special effects in a minute, but that's what pretty much saved it. As far as acting and directing, honestly,
I don't know how to score this one because we're doing two things.
We're doing two things, and I'm
okay with the acting.
I have to give it to hate. I have to give it to hate.
You give it to hate because
from the directing standpoint.
And that's the only part that I have about it. I think the acting was fine. I think the directing was what lacked. And how do I give? I don't.
Well, that's what gives you. But that's what gives you the movie. You have your plot. We gave that, and I don't even remember if I actually introduced the plot as being one of the things, one of the categories. Anyway,
we'll get the rundown correct. But
from this particular standpoint, I really think that the directing was what hindered this movie. The acting was fine. I think that Peter Skarsgård, the way he directed him was not very good. The selection of the villain and how he executed the villain and all that. Casino Royale was good. GoldenEye was good.
I'll agree with you on that.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead.
I think there was more directing faults than acting goodness. So
special effects. There are some movies that are just beautiful to watch.
Okay.
Speed Racer, Ghost Rider, and The Green Lantern. When you watch this, especially on the scenes in Oa, those scenes are just beautiful to watch. Mm-hmm. Looking at Abin Sur when he crash lands on Earth and he's looking at Ryan Reynolds, at Hal Jordan. That was just, especially on Blu-ray, it looks great.
Okay.
Looks amazing. So the special effects on that whole thing, especially when you're doing I don't even know if it was motion capture or what with the Jeffrey Rush character and Michael Clark Duncan's character, but that looked amazing. It would have to be
motion capture.
Yeah, I don't know if it was motion capture or not, but that looked amazing. Sinestro's makeup was impeccable.
That was great. That should have won an award by itself.
Exactly. Right. So there were
the constructs. It was like realizing, the lantern's power. Being able to make anything out of this little green
ring
thing, not the green ring, but like you don't even call it a fluid or a liquid. It's just like like an energy. This green energy.
I don't know about green fluid.
Kids, if you have green fluid, go see a doctor. This green energy is the word I was actually trying to look for. But seeing that, realize, I mean, some of the things that he made constructs out of maybe were some challenges, like the race car track thing was.
I did not like the race car track thing.
I mean, it was cool seeing constructs being made. You know, Hal Jordan, as a Lantern, you know, he's more inventive with his constructs as opposed to doing like, you know, a Gatling gun and stuff like that. He would like when they had the one thing when he was like, oh, he drew a big fist. That's a Hal Jordan thing. He would do something like that in the comic books. He would be really, really inventive, and they seemed like they were going towards that. But at the beginning, they were a little weird as far as how they wanted to do the choices they made with the constructs. But then that's directing. But how they realized them on screen, I think they did a really good job with the CGI. Like you said, with Sinestro, his makeup was amazing. Kilowog was kind of a CGI character, so I mean, but it was still believable on screen.
The council thing.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. Just seeing people on Oa, the council on Oa. So.
Yeah, I wasn't too impressed with those. Those kind of did look a little fakey. It looked like Maz Kanata's, like 5, 6 brothers.
Okay, so when this movie came out in
2011.
2011. Okay, so we're about 5 years removed. So man, it was
So I mean, that was about probably, and then the Parallax himself, that was kind of
Is it that you don't like the villain?
No,
I'm
trying not to. I'm trying to. Never mind.
Because you can't get caught up on a different category.
I know. I'm trying not to. The animated suit.
Okay, so that is the elephant in the room.
Green. Wow. I know, right? Woo!
The animated suit.
Okay.
Terrence, why don't you talk to us about what you feel about this suit?
Okay.
Does it deserve the flack that it gets?
Okay, so this is the reason why I actually wore this. Not because I own it and I like actually dressing up as characters, but I was making a point, and I do actually like dressing up as characters. But I was making a point
that your boobs are really that big.
That I have an amazing body. But my point is, everybody gets mad over the CGI suit. Do you see how ridiculous this looks? I mean, really, do you see how ridiculous this is? Is this what we really wanted? Is this what we wanted him to walk around in a cloth suit that looks like this? We didn't want that. And I think for all the flack that the CGI suit gets, I think it was more true to the comic book than this would have been. Because Hal Jordan with the ring calls for it. It doesn't spring out like the Flash and thing like that. It just comes on him. So how else were they gonna do that?
There is a.
There's like, hold on, wait. Let me get this over my head. Let me pull this up. Let me get this on.
If they did it similar to Spawn, they could have done it that way too, where Michael Jai White
just came out the back of his head and just wrapped around his face.
Exactly.
That's ridiculous. Not for Hal Jordan.
No, but I'm just saying that the way that costume looked on him, it did not look.
It would have still been.
It was still a rubber suit. It would still wear a rubber suit. I think they could have.
I think you guys are really. I think if you've seen the rubber suit, if they had to come out with like some concept,
they do, and it's actually out there where they had it, and it looked pretty legit actually. The only thing that was it had like little spots of green. It had the green here with the white, and then it was kind of more black than green.
And people would have had a cow about that. People would have had a serious cow. That was like, oh, that's not the suit. You know, it should be green. It should be green and white. And he should have the mask, and it should come all over him. And wait, what? Sorry. It should appear on him. My phrasing is way off today. But I think people give that suit way too much flack, and I think people just ride that train. God, people just jump on board the hate for that particular suit based off a few people's negative remarks on it. I don't think people really dislike that suit, but I don't have a problem with that suit at all. I think it worked for what this film was, and it matched the way they portrayed the energy from the ring. The suit matched it.
Okay.
And if they would have done it as a real rubber suit, I don't think it would have made that much of a difference.
With the exception of some minor little flaws here and there, including the suit, I would actually give the special effects a like.
I like the special effects in the suit.
I thought it's a beautiful shot movie.
Like I said, if we want to nitpick about the council on Oa, then that's fine. Some of it and some angles were fine, but like I said, it was 2011. We gotta give them a little bit of slack.
So who gets it?
It's gonna get a like.
And right now, like
You
is
guys
leading
don't like this
2-1 right now. 2
You guys
to
don't like
1.
this suit. So don't. If you guys put in the comments about how much you hated the CGI suit, you're lying to yourselves because there is no reason that you hate that suit.
Next is the action sequences. This movie actually has a pretty decent amount. I don't think it has as much as I would have liked it to, but when you factor in the training and then you go from the beginning.
Story.
It is an origin story, so the action is going to be a little limited. There are some parts where this really mirrors Superman, especially the music when you really listen to it. But it is very limited in action. But when it happens, I think it's pretty great. I think I wanted more. I would have wanted more. I think having this type of villain go through the freaking city and do what it did, that's probably overdoing it because they didn't have that much action in the beginning, and now they're trying to go,
Yeah, so they have to pick up the pace.
They're gonna go all balls out, all freaking. I was gonna say balls deep. All balls out on this movie, Independence Day style. So. It did okay.
Okay.
I thought the space sequences were good. The beginning, especially when the thing is chasing Abensur, I thought all that was great.
The train scene was cool.
The train scene was
seeing
cool,
how getting his butt kicked on Oa. So by Kilowog and by Sinestro. So I think that was cool. Even though we didn't quite like how the villain was portrayed, it was still exciting, conclusion to how he tore up the city and how having to deal with him. I think it was exciting enough. Like I said, the beginning was slow, but it was an origin story, so they have to give you so much backstory because it's not a well-known character.
Right. But unfortunately, I have to give this one a hate.
Really? You don't think there was enough action sequences?
I don't think it was enough action sequences for as much as they can do with the Green Lantern character. They did not give him as much stuff to do. I thought I thought Sinestro probably had more, and he was barely in it.
But the thing about it, though,
Abensur had more, and he was barely in it.
And I'm feeling Fantastic Four when I say this, but the thing about it is they really had to develop him as who he was.
I understand that, but then if you want to just look at it from that standpoint, as far as when he turns into the Green Lantern and the action sequences that follow that, okay, maybe you could have wanted more. But hey, let's not forget that freaking early. Airplane scenes, the jet scenes, those were actually pretty cool scenes too. When they were flying the jets and they were, he was trying to made them look stupid, but whatever. he made those new guys look dumb. But when he was, going through all that, that's part of an action sequence. Right. So if you want to factor that in, okay, fine, I'll give it to you. But overall, I thought it needed more action. I understand it's an origin story. I give it a hate on that.
Okay, I will go with you on hate because I even remember myself and I was like, okay, when are they kind of really going to get to him actually being Green Lantern as opposed to being Hal Jordan? Exactly. The birthday party, the scene, they probably could have did without that one when he went to go see his little nephew.
Yeah, they could have.
They probably could have done without that one.
They could have done without him showing his suit off to his friend. They could have gone. Yeah, but they could have. They didn't need that one. There's a bunch of those. So
they probably could have swapped those scenes to give us a little bit more on Oa, more training, stuff like that.
Yeah,
give us something to do a little bit more as Green Lantern as opposed to
maybe even the bar scenes with him and Lively. That could have been a little shortened also.
Hey, he was trying to get his woman.
His character already did though.
I know, but he was trying to get his woman and was like, hey, can give me another scene with her.
Oh, man, I'm gonna make her my wife. Show her my real shallow. So finally, characters.
Okay.
You got all of the Lantern Corps.
Okay.
Like Lively's character, Tim Robbins' character, the Parallax villain, and of course you have Green Lantern. All of them, I thought, with the exception of
Parallax
and Skarsgård's character, Hector Hammond. Those two, honestly, I think those are the two weakest.
Okay. Yeah, Hector Hammond's whiny character was kind of annoying for a while. And I don't think we should hold as much weight for Parallax, even though he was the villain. He did not show up until the very end.
Well, he was in the beginning, and then he was at the end.
Yeah, I mean, his screen time was his involvement in the movie.
He bookended the movie. He was not really involved.
I mean, I don't think it was enough to really say that to take away from the rest of how they realize the characters. And I think the most important part and the bulk of what we were trying to realize on screen was Green Lantern.
Right, and I thought...
And the core itself, so...
And I thought that Ryan Reynolds regardless of what he may think, and I don't even think he really feels that way. I think
he got a lot of hate.
I think
and
he's playing off everybody else. But the truth is, Ryan, you did a freaking awesome job.
Yeah. And nobody talks about how bad he was.
I remember saying that I thought Chris Pine should have been the Green Lantern. I could see both of them doing it. I could have seen both of them doing it. His eyes are already blue, so he doesn't need contacts.
We might see it because they were talking about like maybe that DC changes it up. And even though they're having him involved in the Wonder Woman film, maybe they say that, you know, he's an ancestor later
of Hal Jordan,
or he's an ancestor, or that he's an ancestor of Al Jordan in this time frame, and then he becomes a Lantern.
Oh,
but then that'll make it a little weird too. It's like, oh, I remember you, and now you're Green Lantern, and then bringing the whole Superman triangle thing, and maybe some Batman on the side, and, you know. This universe got exciting all of a sudden, but
well, with all the freaking innuendo you've said today. Anyway, so everything rests on Ryan Reynolds, and I thought that he executed it right. Blake Lively did her part; she did great. And everybody else, like I said, and everybody else, especially Clark Duncan and Jeffrey Rush, they all did a great job. Those were the only 2 weak points. And the positives outweigh the negatives. I'm gonna give them a like for sure.
The majority of the weight was on those other characters. As like I said, Parallax was a small portion of the movie, even though he was a villain. It was a small portion, and the whiny thing with Hector Hammond. You know, it was a bad part, but it wasn't a big enough bad part to say that they didn't do the rest of the characters well. So I'm
gonna honestly say that Mark Strong and Ryan Reynolds are the two
standouts.
things.
Yeah,
I just thought Mark Strong's performance was great, and he was just born for Star Wars. Please go to Star Wars. So who gets it?
It gets a like.
It gets a like, and it is 3-2. Very close.
3-2. We need some blowouts.
Very
That would be Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
No. You know what was a blowout? Wasn't Last Stand a blowout?
Was it?
I think Last Stand was a blowout. And this one, anyway, it was really great to revisit this movie, though. I gave it so much crap last year, and I did not even know.
Yeah, he didn't defend the movie at all. He made me defend the movie.
Yeah, he defended it. I was like saying all these other things, and I saw it again today with an open mind, and it was actually pretty good. It was not as bad as everybody thinks. So you really, you don't hate this movie.
And you know what? CGI costume, we all praised the Spider-Man costume, and that was completely CGI.
Which one? Holland's?
Civil War.
Oh, yeah.
His costume was completely CGI.
So was Deadpool's mask.
Yeah, so we like CGI costumes. People, look, stop being movie snobs and stop listening to what other people tell you to like.
No trolls.
Yeah, look, if people tell you, oh, it's bad, you don't have to jump on and say, oh, yeah, I believe it's bad. Make up your mind for yourself. Nobody should really dislike that the way they gave that CGI costume. Trust me, we like a lot of things CGI, and that one they just told you it was CGI, and then somebody said, oh, it's CGI, I don't like it, and then a million other people jumped on board and said they didn't like it. Ryan Reynolds, you did a great job.
You did an amazing job. Mark Strong, you're awesome.
I love you as Deadpool, but I would have been okay if you came back as Green Lantern as well. So,
and it's never too late. Never say never, right?
That'd be funny.
Anyway, after all that talk,
smack, right? Announced Ryan Reynolds back for Green Lantern Corps.
Tell us what you think. Let us know what you think about the Green Lantern. Take a look at it. Watch it again, and you'll see what we're talking about. You'll see and notice that it's not as bad. Next, You Don't Hate, we'll probably do Transformers Dark of the Moon. We actually never finished it. We filmed it. There were some technical difficulties, so we weren't able to air it. We will have a mulligan and a do-over, and we'll have that out for you pretty soon. So, for Aspen in the back, I'm Manny.
It's Terrence.
And we'll see you next time.
Good deal.